Hello everyone, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club and welcome to my channel. In recognition of Flying Frog Productions' release of a new revised edition of Fortune and Glory, the Cliffhanger Game, this month, I've decided to feature a playthrough of this excellent game, this time versus the dreaded Order of the Crimson Hand. So let's get started.
The Order of the Crimson Hand, often referred to as the Order, is a clandestine and influential group with roots dating back to the time of the ancient Babylonian mystery religions. As a global organization engaged in esoteric practices, its members are dedicated to the pursuit of powerful ancient artifacts that hold the potential to shape political, financial, and spiritual hierarchies worldwide. With countless adherents dispersed across the globe, often indistinguishable from the average person, these followers are unwavering in their commitment to the craft and the directives of the Order's master, whose machinations are betrothed to the destabilization of societies, peoples, and nations.
I downloaded the revised rulebook for the new edition to see what changes might have been made, and the only one that stood out to me was the adoption of the revised temple collapse rules into the official rule set. For this reason, I've decided to keep my original version of the game, and I will not be purchasing the new version. So for this playthrough, I'll be using the revised temple collapse rules for the first time. Tonight, we'll be facing the Order of the Crimson Hand, and the villains, Angelica Hamilton and the Inquisitor. Angelica has the very powerful Vindictive ability, which will cause heroes in her space to treat all tests as deadly tests. She begins the game already deployed in the Heartland, searching for the mine of the Azure Jewel. The Inquisitor is a powerful foe as well, as he possesses the Fanatic ability, gaining +1 combat for each wound he acquires. And with his wound capacity of 8, this can make him a dangerous foe indeed. His weakness is his lack of defense. The Crimson Hand possesses one of the most powerful abilities of all the vile organizations, Dark Knowledge, which awards them various advantages for acquiring different types of artifacts: myth, fate, magic, and death. I think it will be important for us to hit the ground running, as we must deny them from gaining these advantages at all costs. In addition, they have an ability called the Order's Influence, which will activate whenever they roll on their tactics chart. This has the potential to compromise our allies through threats and promises, and could cost us portions of our accumulated fortune. So we'll have to be careful with our allies. The starting artifacts include the Mine of the Azure Jewel, located in the Heartland, the Mask of the Cursed Eye, residing in the Andes Mountains, the Tomb of Medusa, located in Eastern Europe, and the Spear of the Ancients, residing somewhere in the Great White North. Our adventurers for this game will include the Hollywood actress Jenny Butler, who begins in Los Angeles, the French Tomb Raider Jacques Moreau, who begins in Cairo, the Russian scientist Dr. Zhukov, who starts in Moscow, and the American flying ace Jake Zane, who begins in San Francisco. Jenny begins the game with 3 glory, and with her Starlit ability, she can purchase allies at a cost of 2 less than normal. And when this is combined with the Order's Keep Your Friends Close ability, that reduces the cost a further 2, and can be a great force multiplier for us. She has the personal mission, Settle a Score, and that means she's going to gain 2 fortune for successfully sneaking past a villain, or for defeating a villain in combat, doing more hits to them than they do to you. So that's a good personal mission for her. Jacques Moreau is a very capable adventurer, but his greed ability requires us to acquire 2 extra fortune per adventurer when we're playing in the cooperative game. And this is going to require us now to get a total of 48 fortune to win the game. Jacques has the personal mission, See the World, and if he spends an adventure cycle in the following cities, Rio de Janeiro and Sydney, he'll earn 3 fortune, so that's a good one for him. Dr. Zhukov has limited fighting skills because of that academic ability, and he'll only hit in a fight on rolls of 5 or 6 instead of the normal 4, 5, or 6. But he's a cunning adventurer, and he can use his escape plan ability to escape from fights and collapsing temples. Dr. Zhukov has the personal mission, Research Myth, and this will allow him to, if he recovers a myth artifact, from the rest of the game, he'll be able to gain 2 adventure dice on all tests that have the myth symbol on them. And finally we have Jake Zane, and he has the Brash ability, which gives him a bonus when operating in a location with other adventurers or villains. So he should be paired up with other adventurers whenever possible. He has the personal mission Cult Smasher, and if he can defeat a Crimson Hand enemy in combat, it's going to earn him 1 fortune. Now here's a solo tip for the viewers that I have kind of developed, and I use this all the time, and it makes managing these 3 or 4 adventurers a lot easier. What I do is to minimize the number of dice rolls that I need to make, I have assigned a colored marker to each of the adventurers, and I'll roll a die of the same color for their initiative and movement rolls. This speeds up the initiative and movement phases and automatically gives me the initiative order and movement rates in just a single roll of the dice, rather than rolling 4 times for each step. I roll 4 dice of those colored that match the colored marker that I've placed on the adventurer, and it saves time. For this game, Jenny Butler will be red, Jacques Moreau will be white, Dr. Zhukov will be blue, and Jake Zane will be black. All right, we'll get started with the initiative phase. We'll roll a die for each of the adventurers, and the highest one is going to gain the first token. All right, our highest rolls are a 5 and a 5, so those will get re-rolled. We have 1 1 there, so one of our players is going to gain an event card. We'll re-roll these to see who the initiative player is. And in this case, it's the white, so that is going to be Jacques Moreau will be our first player. And the blue die was a 1, so that means that Dr. Zhukov can draw an event card. And he draws the event Fortune's Favor. Event Victory. Play on any hero, including yourself, when they complete a danger. That hero may immediately fully heal and gains glory equal to the number of wounds healed in this way. Limit 1 victory card per danger completed. All right, we'll give that card to Dr. Zhukov. Our next step is to roll for movement, and we'll do the same procedure we did for the initiative rolls. All right, we've got 2 1s have been rolled, so those also produce event cards. That will be for Jake Zane and for Jenny Butler. Jake Zane draws the card Too Close. Play to force a test just rolled to be entirely re-rolled. This may be used on yourself or another hero or villain. And the event card for Jenny Butler is going to be Expanding Influence. Play immediately. Place a mobster thug in 2 random cities on the board. Limit 1 per city. And then we're going to do a reshuffle of the event deck. The flavor text reads, "This is our turf now. Get used to it." So we'll be placing a mob thug in Los Angeles and in Sydney. All right. So we place a mob thug in Sydney, Australia. And another one is going to be placed in Los Angeles. And unfortunately, Jenny Butler is going to have to fight that thug immediately. All right, so Jenny's going to have to fight the mobster out of sequence. She has 2 combat, but she gains 2 fight dice against mob or female enemy or villain, and has 2 adventure dice on any mob or femme fatale test, so that's good. So she'll be rolling a total of 4 fight dice. she'll be rolling the white. And the mobster has a fight dice value of 3. He'll be rolling 3 red dice. And he has a wound capacity of 4, so we'll see what happens. We'll give her a chance at this and see if she can defeat this mobster. Now, we do have the option of escaping. She can escape by doing a agility 5+ test with 2 successes. Her agility is a 3. We'll see how this goes. All right, here is the first fight round. All right, Jenny has a total of 3 hits. Mobster did a total of 1 to her. Now she has a defense of 1 that will absorb 1 hit each fight round. Mobsters have none, so they're going to take 3 wounds. So we'll mark the mobsters with 3 wounds. We can get 1 more hit. We'll have defeated them. Okay, we'll go to round 2. And here's the next roll. And Jenny's got 2 hits. I'm sorry, 1 hit, and the mobsters have 2 on her. So her defense will absorb 1 of them. She's going to take 1 wound, but the mobsters are defeated. So we'll give Jenny a wound. Mobsters now have a total of 4 that equals their wound capacity. So the mobsters are defeated. And she's going to gain 3 glory for defeating them. So with that fight completed, that was out of sequence, and we'll begin now with our movement phase. And Jacques Moreau is our lead investigator, or our lead adventurer, and he's going to have 4 movement points available to him. Now Jacques' personal mission is see the world. Spend an adventure phase in each of the following cities, Rio de Janeiro and Sydney, and it's going to earn him 3 fortune. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have Jacques move to Sydney, and there is a gangster there, a mobster, and if he can complete the fight against that, we'll earn not only some glory but some fortune eventually for spending a turn there. So he has 4 movement points. We'll have him move 1 into the Indian Ocean, 2, 3 into the South Pacific, and 4 into Sydney. Dr. Zhukov is in Moscow. He has 3 movement points, and I think we're going to have him move into Eastern Europe, where he can undertake the Tomb of Medusa adventure, and I think that's what we'll have him do. Now Jake Zane is up next, and he only has 1 movement point, unfortunately. So I think what we'll do is we'll have him stay in San Francisco, and he'll undertake a city adventure. And the same situation befalls Jenny Butler. She's in Los Angeles. She has 1 movement point, and I think we'll just have her remain in Los Angeles, where she can undertake a city adventure, and she can spend maybe some of the 6 glory points that she has right now. I would have liked to have moved both of the adventurers to contest Angelica Hamilton in her search for the mine of the Azure Jewel, but we'll maybe do that next turn. So that will complete the movement phase. Now we'll go to the adventure phase. Jacques has a combat value of 5, so he'll be rolling 5 white dice. And the mobsters have a fight dice value of 3, so they'll be rolling 3. We'll see what happens on this first round of combat. And here's the roll. All right, Jacques has done a total of 3 hits. Mobsters have done none. That was a 3. I moved it. So they're going to take 3 wounds. So we'll mark them accordingly, and we'll proceed with a second round. Jacques definitely has the upper hand against these mobsters for the time being. Okay, here is the roll. And Jacques has done it. He's got 3 hits. The mobsters do 2 hits to him though. Jacques has a defense value of 1 that will soak up 1 hit. So Jacques is going to take a wound, but the mobsters are defeated. That'll earn him 3 glory. Now technically that fight happened during Jacques' movement phase. I should have actually resolved it as soon as I moved into the space. So we'll do it that way for the remainder of the game. But now Jacques can encounter Sydney, and he'll do a city adventure. And his city adventure is just another day in the city. City event. You may fully heal, and then we're going to reshuffle the city deck. And that'll work out to Jacques' advantage because he did take a wound in that battle with the mobsters, so that'll fully heal him. Now, one thing I should point out is when this card comes up, if you're in a gold bannered city, a major city, then we have a major city event. And that's a roll on a table and gives you an adventure that's specific to that location. It's kind of a neat add-on that they added to the game in one of the expansions. But not in this case because we're in a minor city. So that'll fully heal Jacques, and we'll move on now to Dr. Zhukov. And incidentally, to mark Jacques' progress on his See the World personal mission, I'm going to mark him with one of these skulls tokens, and I'll put that on the personal mission card that he has, and it'll tell us that we completed the first portion of that, which is to spend an adventure phase in each of the following cities, in this case, Sydney. Dr. Zhukov is up next. He's currently in Eastern Europe, and he's going to perform an artifact adventure. And in this case, it's going to be Dr. Zhukov and the Tomb of Medusa. Now, the Tomb of Medusa has a value of 8 fortune, and it has a collapse rating of 3. And there is one special ability of this tomb. It says, after all dangers, you must take d6 hits or discard an ally that is with you to get the artifact. So, we'll have to see what happens with this. So, Dr. Zhukov's first danger is going to be occupied territory. Danger Nazi has a glory value of 3. Flavor text reads, Nazis. When did they get here? Sneak out the back door, find another way out, or let them know how you feel about fascism. All right, he has to either do an agility 6+ test, needing 1 success, or a cunning test 5+, needing 2 successes, or fight by drawing a Nazi enemies card. Well, Dr. Zhukov has a very high cunning ability. He has a cunning of 5. So I think what we're going to do is he's going to take that cunning test. So he'll be rolling 5 dice for the test. He'll need 2 successes to pass this danger. All right, and here is his cunning roll. He's looking for a 5 or better. And he has 1 success. So we're going to give him 1 progress token towards completing that danger. And he gets to re-roll all of his dice. And we'll do that. 1 more and he'll complete the first danger. And he's done that easily. He's got 2 5s. So we've completed that first danger. We'll mark him with a danger token to show his progress. That's going to award him 1 fortune from the Tomb of Medusa. Now this card is worth 3 glory, and his choices are to either press on, take another danger, and then we're risking that glory that we earned from this successful passing of this danger, or we can camp down. We would gain all the glory right now, and he would be fully healed if he had any wounds on him. I think we're going to press on. And technically, with the new temple collapse rules, we don't have to place progress markers when dealing with the temples any longer. We just simply take the fortune that we gain, the 1 fortune, and we can decide to press on or camp down. Now, how the temple rules will work now is that if we go into a cliffhanger, we'll immediately go through the temple collapse rules, which means we'll roll a number of dice equal to the temple's collapse rating, in this case 3, and any results of 1 or 2 will place collapse markers on the temple. When it reaches 3, in this case, the temple collapses. But Dr. Zhukov is going to press on. And the next danger is Hidden Trap. Danger Trap, glory of 3. Spot the pressure plates in the floor and find a way across the densely packed pattern of stones to avoid springing the trap. He's going to have to perform a lore 4+ test with 2 successes and a cunning 5+ test with 1 success. Now we can take those in whatever order we choose to. And I think we'll begin with the cunning test. So he'll be rolling 5 dice. He has a cunning value of 5. So he'll roll 5 dice and he's looking for 1 success. Here's the roll. And he's done it. He's got that portion of the test complete. So we'll give him a progress token towards that. Now he's going to have to do the lore 4+ test. Unfortunately, he has a lore value of only 2. So he'll only be getting 2 dice for this test. And let's see if he's got any other abilities here. He has scientist, but that's only for tech or puzzle tests. And that's it. So it's all he's going to get is the 2 dice. So we'll see if we can pass this. Here is his lore 4+ test. He has 1 success. So we'll give him a success token towards that. He needs 1 more now to pass that. So he'll re-roll those 2 dice. And he's done it. He has done it. It's going to earn him 3 glory, and he'll be able to take another fortune out of that temple. Now, if he presses on, he'll be risking the 3 glory that he earned from the occupied territory danger and the 3 glory he just earned from this hidden trap. So we have to decide if we want to press on or camp down and not take any chances. Now we know that the Inquisitor is going to deploy to the next highest valued artifact on the board, and that is going to be in this space. So the Inquisitor will be coming out next at the end of this turn. So we have to decide. I think we're going to press on. And his next danger is sword fight. Danger duel has a glory value of 3. Use your knowledge of fencing to outwit your opponent or try to overpower him with brute force. It's going to require a lore 6+ test or a combat test 5+ with 3 successes. You may not use guns for this test. Well, if we choose the combat portion of this test, it won't be a fight. We're going to be using his combat value, and we'd be looking for 5+. And it requires 3 successes. Now his lore value is only a 2, so the odds on getting a 6 with 2 dice are not so good. I'm sure that's less than 50%. But I think that's our best bet. We would only need a single success. If not, it's going to turn into a cliffhanger, so we'll try the lore test for him. Okay, here is the roll. And he's failed, unfortunately. Oh boy. Well, we have no rerolls available to us, so that's going to turn this into a cliffhanger. And the cliffhanger is going to become Clash of Swords. All right, he'll have to deal with that at the start of the next turn. And unfortunately, since we've gone into a cliffhanger, we're going to lose the 6 glory that he earned from the other 2 dangers that he passed, and worse yet, we're going to have to roll for collapse of the temple. Now the temple has a collapse rating of 3, so we'll be rolling 3 dice, and for each 1 or 2 rolled, we're going to add a collapse token. Here is the roll. And we've rolled none of those, so there's no collapse markers being placed on the Tomb of Medusa. But Dr. Zhukov will have to deal with this Clash of Swords during the next adventure phase. And now we'll move on to Jake Zane, and he's currently in San Francisco, so he'll be having a city adventure in San Francisco. And his city adventure is revealed to be just another day in the city. You may fully heal, and then we have to reshuffle the city deck. But we are in a major city, so he's going to have a major city encounter. It's actually called a Major City Epic Event. We're going to roll a d6 and see what it is. And here's the roll. Roll is a 1, and that says Earthquake. A massive earthquake strikes the city. No hero may interact any further with the city of San Francisco this turn. Also, roll for every immobile gear or ally located in San Francisco. Discard it on a d6 roll of 3+. Any hero in the city takes d6 hits and gains d6 glory. All right, so we're going to have to roll for Jake Zane to see how many hits he's going to take. All right, here is the roll. The roll is a 2. So that's a total of 2 hits. He does have a defense of 1. That'll bring it down to 1 wound. So we'll mark him with 1 wound. He also earns D6 glory. So we'll roll for that. And he earns himself 5 glory. So we'll give him 5 glory. But he can no further interact with the city of San Francisco this turn. So we'll move on now to Jenny Butler. Jenny is also going to do a city adventure in Los Angeles, and she draws It's a Fake. City event secret. Play on any artifact when it is being sold. That artifact is a fake, and now only worth 1 fortune. Ignore any fortune bonuses. Or play when a villain would collect an artifact to discard it instead. That is a good card. And she'll keep that. It's a secret card, which is noted by the exclamation point in the upper left corner. So we'll give that to Jenny Butler. And now she can interact with the city of Los Angeles. She currently has 1 wound, which she took in that battle against the mobsters. And I think Jenny is going to take advantage of her starlet ability, and that says she can buy allies for 2 less glory than normal. Allies and gear cost 5 glory normally. So she'd be able to purchase those for 3 glory. And there's also a special ability on the Order of the Crimson Hand, and it says keep your friends close. Once per turn, each hero in a city can buy 1 ally for 2 less glory than normal. So she can purchase the first ally for a cost of only 1 glory, and another ally at a cost of 3. So I think what she'll do, she's going to spend 1 over 6 glory to heal the wound that she took. That'll leave her with 5. And she'll purchase 2 allies, 1 for 1 glory and 1 for 3. So that'll leave her with 1 glory. She'll be fully healed, and she'll be drawing 2 allies. Her first ally is Manticore. Ally, animal, sidekick, and horse. You gain +2 movement each turn and may draw an event on move rolls of 1 or 2 instead of the normal 1. And this is considered a sidekick. You're limited to 1 of those. And you're also limited to 1 horse. Now this horse gives her +2 agility, and it has a loyalty ability of 5, which is great. So that's a good draw for her. So we'll give her Manticore. And we'll get out a token for Manticore as a reminder. And we'll keep that with her as a reminder that he's going to give her +2 to agility. And her next ally now is a burglar. Ally, thief, stealth. +1 to agility, and we can activate him. May copy the activate ability of any other card in play. He only has a loyalty of 1 though. That's not so good. All right. Now incidentally, each hero is able to keep a total of 3 allies and 3 items, either gear or common items. So that is going to complete our adventure phase, and we'll move on now to the villain phase. And we begin each villain phase by drawing a villain event, and none of these are good for us. So our first draw is Fire. Villain event city. Any hero in a city space immediately takes D6 hits. Oh no. Roll a D6 for every immobile card in play. On a roll of 1 or 2, discard it. And then flavor text is run for your lives. All right. Well, we have three of our heroes are in cities, so each of them are going to take D6 hits. Oh, that's unfortunate. So we'll start out with Jake Zane, and he is in San Francisco. We'll see how many hits he takes. Now, these aren't wounds, they're hits. Here's the first roll. 1, and that's going to get absorbed with his defense value, which is good. So he'll take no wounds. Next up will be Jenny Butler. She is in Los Angeles, and we'll see how many wounds she takes. She takes 6. That's going to be reduced down to 5, and unfortunately, that is the number of her wound capacity. That is not good. So unfortunately, that is going to KO Jenny Butler. That is very unfortunate. So what happens is when she's KO'd, we have to roll to see how much glory, items, or allies that she's going to have to surrender because of that. So this is not good. We'll make the roll and see what happens. She's going to have to surrender a total of 5, and that means that she's going to lose the 1 glory that she has and both of her allies that she just acquired, including Manticore. That is too bad. So she is KO'd in the city right now. And finally, we have to make a roll for Jacques Moreau. He is currently in Sydney, Australia. Here's the roll. And he's going to take a total of 2 hits. Jacques has a defense of 1, so he'll be taking 1 wound in the process. Now, there are no immobile cards currently in play, so we won't have to worry about those, but that fire card was a bad one for us. Next up is the Outpost step, and the Order of the Crimson Hand began the game with a Dark Sanctuary located in the Pacific Northwest. What's going to happen is, during this Outpost step, we're going to roll a d6 for each Dark Sanctuary on the board. On a roll of 4, 5, or 6, we're going to place a Crimson Hand Acolyte figure in the artifacts on the artifact adventure with the lowest fortune value, and no other acolytes there. All right, so that is what we're going to do. We'll make the roll, and 4, 5, or 6, we'll place an acolyte. Okay, here is the roll. The roll's a 6, so an acolyte is coming on the board to the lowest valued artifact. And so in this case, we have 2 artifacts with the same value of 5. So in this case, we can decide where to place it. We can either put it on the Mask of the Cursed Eye or on the Spear of the Ancients. And I think the easiest one for us to get at would probably be the Spear of the Ancients. That's located in the Great White North. So I think we'll put the Acolyte. That's a tough decision. See, if we don't, every turn these Acolytes are going to produce a success towards getting that artifact. So we'll have to think about this. And I think we'll place that Acolyte with the Mask of the Cursed Eye. Now these operate a little differently. They're not placed on the board, they're placed with the artifact, and each turn during the end phase, they're going to gain 1 success towards obtaining that artifact. And depending upon however many are there, that's the number of success tokens that will be placed, or danger tokens that will be placed there going towards the Order of the Crimson Hand acquiring that artifact. And now we're going to move on to the Villain Adventure step. Any villains in locations with artifacts can roll a number of search dice towards trying to acquire that artifact. In this case, Angelica Hamilton has a search value of 4. So she will be able to acquire 1 fortune for each success that she rolls, a 4, 5, or 6. Now, if she rolls any 1s, she'll take wounds for that. And those are not saved by defense value. And every time that she rolls a 1, we would have to roll for a temple collapse in this case. That's how it works with the villain. So we'll see how she does on this acquire action. And she has rolled 2 successes with 1 wound. So Angelica is going to earn 1 wound. We'll have to roll for collapse. And she has already taken 2 fortune out of that temple. And we'll reduce that down to 6 out of 8. And we'll add those 2 fortune to the Order of the Crimson Hand's display. Now we have to roll for collapse. Now this temple, that's the Mine of the Azure Jewel, that has a collapse rating of 2. So she'll be rolling 2 dice. And on a 1 or 2, we'll add a collapse token there. If 2 tokens are over there, it will collapse. She rolled Snake Eyes, and that means that 2 collapse tokens are placed and the temple will collapse. That's actually good for us. Now what's going to happen is she is going to roll a d6. That'll be the number of wounds that she's going to take, and depending upon if this KOs her or not, that will determine how many turns delay there'll be before she comes back on the board. So we'll see what happens. She currently has 1 wound right now. She only has a wound capacity of 4. Here's the roll. She rolls a 6. So that would give her a total of 7 wounds, and she is going to be KO'd. And that means she's not going to return to the board for quite a while. So that artifact is removed from the game, and we're going to place Angelica back on the Crimson Hand display. So we mark Angelica Hamilton as KO'd. She's going to be completely healed now, but she's back at the headquarters of the Crimson Hand. And during each phase now, she'll move down 1 slot until she's ready, and then eventually she would deploy. But she's going to be down for the count for quite a while. So the next step now is to deploy the Inquisitor to the board. Now he is in the ready position, so he's going to deploy to the highest valued artifact that is currently on board. That is going to be the Tomb of Medusa, and that is in Eastern Europe, where Dr. Zhukov is. So we'll place the Inquisitor in Eastern Europe, and he's attempting to go after the Tomb of Medusa along with Dr. Zhukov. And now we'll move on to the end phase, and at the beginning of the end phase we place 1 danger token on each acolyte that has been deployed to an artifact. In this case, we have an acolyte that is going after the Mask of the Cursed Eye, so he's going to earn 1 token towards attaining that item, and we'll mark him accordingly. He needs a total of 4 to gain that. Now if a villain deploys to that spot, these tokens go towards the villain earning that artifact. Our last step in the end phase is we're going to deploy a new artifact to replace the one that was lost with the temple collapse in the Heartland. And then any of our heroes that are KO'd will be able to recover. In that case, it'll be Jenny Butler in Los Angeles. The new artifact is going to be the Armor of Poseidon. That has a value of 7 and a danger level of 5. We'll draw a location card and find out where that is going to appear on the map. And that's going to be going to Greece. So we'll place it in Greece. Now that has a special condition. It says while you are at this artifact, while you have this artifact, you may always move through sea spaces for 1 movement each. So that's actually a pretty good item to have. And that is currently in Greece now. And so we've placed that artifact marker in Greece, and that's right next door to where Dr. Zhukov is attempting to go after the Tomb of Medusa. And our last step is to recover Jenny Butler in Los Angeles. It's too bad we lost Manticore. That was a good ally for her, but that's what happened. And that's going to bring our first turn to a close. So at the end of the first turn now, we've got Jacques Moreau. He has 3 glory and 1 wound. Dr. Zhukov is currently in a cliffhanger in Eastern Europe, and Jake Zane has 1 wound, and he's got 5 glory. Jenny Butler just recovered from being KO'd. About the only good result we had from the first turn was we had no movement on the villain track, so that remains at 0. If the villain track ever reaches 15, the villains will win the game automatically. So we don't want that to ever advance to 15. Now to this point, our adventurers have earned a total of 2 fortune. Now we're going to need a total of 48. Normally it would be 40 for a 4-player game, but because of Jacques Moreau's greed, we have to have 2 additional fortune per hero for team or cooperative play. So we're going to need a total of 46 more fortune to win. And we have to do that before the villain track reaches 15. So we'll start a new turn. We'll begin with the initiative phase, and we'll be rolling the dice for the initiative of our adventurers. And this time, the red die is the high one. That's a 6, and that's going to be Jenny Butler. So Jenny is going to be our first player. We'll give her the first player marker. We did roll 1-1, and that means that the white player, in this case Jacques Moreau, gets to draw an event card. And he draws the event Expedition Leader. Event leadership, play immediately. Play on any hero, including yourself. That hero may now carry up to 3 more gear than normal and may purchase common items for 1 glory less each. Minimum of 1 remains in play. Well, I think we will play that on Jacques Moreau himself. He has the black market ability that allows him to buy gear and common items for 1 less than normal, so that card would pair well with him. And now we'll make a roll for their movement values. All right, those are the movement values. The red player rolled a 1. He's entitled to, or I should say she is entitled to, an event card. And we'll draw a card for Jenny Barnes. She draws the event Call in a Favor. Play on any hero to allow them to immediately draw an ally's card, or play to give any ally +2 loyalty until the end of the game round. All right, we'll give that to Jenny Butler. And Jenny is up for movement. Now she only has movement value of 1 for this turn. I think what she's going to do is she's going to play the card Call in a Favor. Play on any hero to allow them to immediately draw an ally's card. So we'll draw her an ally. And she ends up gaining the Burglar. +1 to agility, and he can, as we activate him, he can copy the activate ability of any other card in play. Okay, so we will do that, and we'll give her the Burglar. He's not the greatest ally, but we'll take him. Now she has 1 movement point. We'll have her move into the Western Pacific, and she'll have a sea adventure is what that will amount to, and she's going to attempt to try to get to the Andes, I think. Next up for movement is Jacques Moreau, and he's currently in Sydney, Australia. He has 6 movement points. We want to try to get him to Rio de Janeiro, and he can complete his See the World personal mission. So we'll see if we can get him there. He's going to spend 2 movement points to move into the South Pacific. He'll spend 1 point to get to the Pacific Crossing. That's a total of 3. Now the Pacific Crossing is considered 1 space. So once you reach there, you can move to the other side at no cost. So that's a total of 3 movement points. He'll spend another 1 to go into the Western South Pacific. That's 4. He'll move 1 more into the Devil's Reach. That'll be 5. And his 6th point will be spent going into the Amazon jungle. That'll get him within 1 space of that city, which is good. Next up is Dr. Zhukov. He's currently in a cliffhanger in Eastern Europe. Now he had a movement roll of 5, but he can't move because he's in that cliffhanger. So the only purpose of the roll is to see if he could get an event card. So that'll do it for Dr. Zhukov. And finally we have Jake Zane. Jake Zane has a movement value of 4. And we'll see what we're going to do with him. And I think we'll move him to the Andes. He's going to spend 1 movement point to move into the Western North Pacific, another point to get into the Western South Pacific, and 1 movement point to get into the Andes. And he'll undertake that adventure, I think, during the adventure phase. And we'll begin the adventure phase with our first player, and that's Jenny Butler. She's going to have a sea adventure. She's in a sea space. Now what's going to happen there is she's going to roll a die. On a result of 4, 5, or 6, she can draw an event card. On a result of 2 or 3, it's just uneventful travel. But if she rolls a 1, we're going to have a combat, and we'll be drawing a enemy's card. Okay, here is the roll. She rolls a 4, so that's going to entitle her to an event card draw. And we'll draw her an event. And she gets Daring Escape. Event physical. Play to let any hero automatically pass an escape test even after the dice have been rolled. Or play when any hero completes the last danger of an adventure. That hero must complete one additional danger before collecting the artifact. We would only use that in a competitive game, so we'll probably end up using that for the first ability. All right, that completes Jenny Butler's adventure. Now, Jacques Moreau is in the Amazon jungle. That is a deep jungle location. Now, if there was an artifact here, we would have to do an exploration roll. But he's just going to encounter his space. This will be a regular land adventure, very similar to the sea adventure. And we'll be rolling a die to see if he gets an event or if he has to confront an enemy. Here's the roll. He rolls a 3. So that is uneventful travel. He's just simply moving through the Amazon jungle with no effects. That will end Jacques Moreau's turn, and we'll move on now to Dr. Zhukov, and he is in a cliffhanger. Now, Dr. Zhukov is in a cliffhanger. He has the Clash of Swords. Cliffhanger Duel has a glory value of 2. Locked in a deadly struggle with your attacker, you must find a way to end the fight fast before it's too late. We can either do a Cunning 6+ test or a Lore 5+ test. Well, we're going to choose the Cunning test because Dr. Zhukov has a 5 in Cunning. He'll be rolling 5 dice for the test, but we need a 6 or greater. All right, here is the roll. And he has easily passed that. He's got 2 successes. It's more than enough to pass that Clash of Swords. So he's defeated his enemy in a duel. That will immediately gain him 2 glory. You get those immediately when you pass your cliffhanger. Now the rules state, while a villain is in an adventure, anytime a hero there wishes to press on after overcoming a danger, they must first make a sneak test to get past the villain without being discovered. So Dr. Zhukov will have to do a sneak test to see if he can sneak past the Inquisitor to start his next danger. How this is going to happen is Dr. Zhukov is going to select a number between 1 and 6, and we're going to roll a number of dice equal to the Inquisitor's search value. And for every result of the one that we selected, we'll have to fight a round of combat against the Inquisitor. So we'll see what number Dr. Zhukov is going to pick. Thematically, I like to think of these sneak numbers that we select as the different paths or corridors that an adventurer could choose to try to attempt to get around the villain. So that's kind of how I justify that for the game element of the sneak roll. So what we're going to do is we're going to select a number between 1 and 6 for Dr. Zhukov, and that's the path he's going to choose. And Dr. Zhukov is going to select path 5, so we'll mark him with a 5. And we're going to roll 5 dice, which is the search value of the Inquisitor. For every 5 that he rolls, we'll have to fight a round of combat against him. Here is the roll. And unfortunately, he rolled 2 5s, so we've selected a bad path. And we'll have to fight the Inquisitor twice. Now, the Inquisitor has a combat value of 3, so he'll be rolling 3 dice for this first fight round. And we have a combat value of 4, but unfortunately Dr. Zhukov has the academic ability, and that means he's only going to hit on a 5 or 6. So the Inquisitor will be rolling 3 dice. We'll be rolling 4, but we're only going to be hitting on 5s or 6s. So here's the first round of combat against the Inquisitor. And Zhukov ended up with 1 hit. The Inquisitor ended up with 1 hit as well. Now, we have a defense value for Dr. Zhukov of 1, so that will soak up the 1 hit that the Inquisitor did. Unfortunately for the Inquisitor, he has a defense of 0, so that hit is going to go through, and we're going to place 1 wound on the Inquisitor. Now, the Inquisitor has a special ability, and it says, Fanatic. Gains +1 combat for each wound he has. So that's going to move his combat value up to 4 for this second round of combat that we're going to be initiating. So now each side is going to be rolling a total of 4 dice. And once again, Dr. Zhukov is an academic. He only hits on a 5 or 6. Here's the roll. That time, he has done no hits to the Inquisitor. Inquisitor has done 2 hits. One of those will be soaked up by the defense value of Dr. Zhukov, so that means he's going to take a wound. So we'll mark Dr. Zhukov with 1 wound on his card, and that's 1 of his 6 wound capacity. But now Dr. Zhukov can undertake the danger. And he draws the danger volcano, danger climbing. It has a glory value of 4. This climb would be dangerous without the lava. Just hope the whole mountain doesn't erupt. This is an agility 4+ test, and this is a deadly test, meaning he has to get all the successes with a single roll. And it says here requires an extra success while at a mountain location. Well, Eastern Europe is considered mountains. He must be in the Carpathians. So he'll have to get a total of 4 successes to pass this. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Zhukov only has an agility of 2. So he will not be able to pass this test unless there are some other cards that we could use. And it doesn't appear to be that will be the case. Dr. Zhukov's agility is 2, so that's all he's going to get out of this. And I don't believe there are any cards we can use. No, there are no event cards that'll help us, so we'll roll the 2 dice, but he would have gotten 1 success. He needed a total of 4, so this is going to go into a cliffhanger. We'll flip the card over, and this is now lava flow. And that's what's going to happen to Dr. Zhukov during the next adventure phase. Now, since he is in a cliffhanger at a temple, we have to roll for collapse. The Tomb of Medusa has a collapse level of 3, so we are going to have to roll 3 dice, and for each 1 or 2, we'll add a collapse token. Here is the roll. And he rolled 1. So that means we're going to add a collapse marker to the Tomb of Medusa. So we'll place a collapse marker on that artifact, and if 2 more collapse markers occur, the tomb will collapse. So Dr. Zhukov is having some problems early in the game. We've placed that cliffhanger on his card, and he'll have to resolve that next adventure phase. We'll move on now to Jake Zane, and he's currently in the Andes. Jake Zane has 1 wound out of his 5 wound boxes, and we'll draw a danger card for him. He's attempting to go after the Mask of the Cursed Eye. So we're going to entitle this Jake Zane and the Mask of the Cursed Eye. And he draws the danger, Deadly Assassin. Danger Assassin has a glory value of 5. Trained from birth in the arts of killing, the assassins of the Tagari are the most deadly in the world. We have the choice of an agility 5+ test requiring 3 deadly successes, or a cunning test of 6+ with 2 standard successes. Well, Jake Zane has a cunning value of 2 and an agility of 4. Either way, this is not good. Well, I think Jake is going to attempt the cunning test. It's going to require a 6, and he needs 2 successes. But the deadly test, I think, would be a little harder. So we'll try this. This is a cunning 6+ test. He has a cunning value of 2. Here is the roll. And he has 1 success. So we will mark him with 1 success, and he gets to retry it again to get that 2nd success. Here is the roll. And he has failed, unfortunately. So that is going to become a cliffhanger, and that is the desperate struggle. And that is what Jake Zane will be under during the next adventure phase. And that's going to complete our adventure phase. We're going to move on now to the villain phase. And we'll begin the villain phase with a villain event draw. And this time we get Wealth of Evil, villain event. While this card is in play, anytime a hero sells an artifact in a major city, roll a d6. On a 1 or 2, the artifact is secretly purchased by the villains, and they gain it as though they had collected it themselves. move the villain track as normal, and that's a remains in play card. We'll add that to the display of the Order of the Crimson Hand. Next up is the outpost step, and we'll roll for that Dark Sanctuary. Roll's a 1, so there will be no deployment of any acolytes. That's good for us. Next up is the Villain Adventure step. We'll start with Angelica Hamilton. She's currently KO'd, so she'll move now to the delayed spot. And she'll end up deploying eventually when she gets to the ready spot. We'll move on now to the Inquisitor, and he's currently in Eastern Europe attempting to find the Tomb of Medusa. Now the Inquisitor has a search value of 5, but that is reduced by 1 for each hero in the space. So in this case, Dr. Zhukov will lower his search ability from 5 down to 4. Okay, here is the roll. And the Inquisitor ended up with 2 successes that will allow him to take 2 fortune from the temple. He was not wounded in the process. So we're going to add the 2 fortune to the display of the Crimson Hand. Now, as soon as they get 3 of those, the 3 are turned in, and that moves up the villain track 1 spot. So we'll increase the villain track up 1 spot, up to 1. And once again, when that gets to 15, we lose the game. That'll complete the villain phase. We'll move on to the end phase, and there's no replenishment of artifacts required, and there are no heroes currently KO'd. So the only thing that will occur in this end phase is our acolytes are each going to gain a success towards gaining their artifacts. In this case, we have an acolyte at the Mask of the Cursed Eye. That's the one in the Andes that Jake Zane is attempting to get. We'll add a second danger token there, placing that acolyte within 2 successes of gaining the artifact. Right now we have Jacques Moreau. He has 1 wound out of his 5 health boxes with 3 glory, and he's currently in the Amazon jungle. He's attempting to get to Rio de Janeiro. We have Dr. Zhukov in Eastern Europe. He's attempting to go after the Tomb of Medusa. He has 1 wound out of his 6 health. He's got 2 glory, but he's involved in a cliffhanger, and that's lava flow. Then we have Jake Zane. Jake is currently going after the Mask of the Cursed Eye in the Andes Mountains, and he is also in a cliffhanger called Desperate Struggle. He has 1 wound out of his 5 health boxes. The villain track currently sits at 1, and when it gets to 15, we're in trouble. Heroes have managed to acquire 2 fortune out of the 48 that they need. So we have a long way to go. So, thanks very much for joining me at the Solo Gamers Club. I hope you're enjoying this playthrough of Fortune and Glory, the Cliffhanger game. Please return to the channel with the next episode and see if our adventurers can defeat the Order of the Crimson Hand. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a nice evening. Good night.